This isn't going to work well.
It's fun.
Today, we're going to be talking about how to stretch your modeling dollar. It's a very exciting show, and we want to hear what you think over in chat. People, this is Track Smack.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? It's time for Track Smack. And now your host, just a regular guy.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Track Smack. Whew. Man, I've been taking a look in chat already. Things blowing up. People having a good time. That's why we come to this show. Well, I come here because I do the show. Bah! Anyway, hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Track Smack. We are so excited to have you here this morning. Joining me over in chat this morning are Ron Piskel, Sparky107 with a wrench, Steve Arnold, Brian Jones, Norman Rowe, and I'm for Shannon Tapia. Boom. Wow. How do you forget something so early in the morning? It must be coffee time. Let's take a sip. Yep, right there on the air. So today we're going to be talking about how to stretch your modeling dollar here on the broadcast. And myself and the moderators been talking about this during the week. Think we got some ideas, but you guys have some great ideas too. I'm sure we want to hear it. This comes from the fact that I used to have like a very high paying job, which also afforded me a lot of time to work on my railroad. But, and now that I have such a not high paying job, I really had to figure out how to use it up, find what I can find and stretch that dollar. So, that's kind of dear to me. So that's where we're going today, but let's just go over to chat and see what's happening. Boom. Good morning, chat. You know, we like to start this show talking to people in chat saying good morning. And let's see. Jason Stevens is saying good morning. Jason, good morning, sir. William Sullivan, New Fenris Railroad. I used to say that wrong. Here we go. He says, yep, here we go. We'll see how it goes. Let's have some fun, people. Joel Karma says, Steve Brown with an exclamation point. Is he here? I don't know. I've been looking for that guy. So is the IRS, by the way. Boom. Hey, Pennywise is here. Good morning, Pennywise. Ron of Ron's Trains and Things is here. Good morning, boys and girls, he says. Thank you, Ron. Good morning to you, too. Rob T-Man. Boom. Jack Jack. Hey, hey. Jack Jack. Is everything in twos? Jack Jack. Hey, hey. Boom, boom. Oh, I have no direction. I have no direction. Mike Vacha. Steve, you need a bigger cup. Well, yeah, I know. And actually, I've been sitting here. This one's all the way down to here. I think I'm screwed this morning. KB Rail, morning rail fans, Flyboy 2610. I use old Parmesan cheese containers to store my scenery materials. And Mike, already on topic. Speaking of being on topic, let's stick to the topic this morning. Unless, you know, I wander away. I have a separate screen up here now where the moderators will say, hey, Steve, come on back to the topic. So you can expect them to keep me in order. Stay on the topic, have some fun. And, you know, if you find yourself booted, it's because you were naughty. Let's not go there. Hey, already in chat, we're picking up one from Tony Rifkin. Tony says, if you get drywall mud, you can mix that with paint, fiber, and mesh, and it's a whole lot cheaper than modeling paste. There you go. There's one money-saving tip for you right out of the chute. Well, let me sort of break this down a little bit. Let's go to the main cam. Boom, main cam. So in the this show is about modeling. Many of us here, though, not most of us here, are model railroaders. So you're going to find that slant on this show, but there's some gems here, people. Pick them up, save some money. I've got in my brain 3 like categories of stuff because they're different. There's some generic tips like buy at a swap meet, steal it from your neighbor. That's pretty cheap, by the way. There's like locomotives and rolling stock is kind of one component of it, in my opinion, and we'll probably spend the first segment just on that. Then there's things like structures and details. That's also something I don't see mentioned a whole lot, but it's very important because otherwise you just got plywood with trains running on it, which can be cool, by the way. And then sort of the third segment, kind of modeling mountains and scenery and stuff like that. And that's where my head's kind of taking me. And we'll see how the show develops from there. So let me start myself. Oh, more coffee. We're going to start by talking about some things about locomotives. Now, here's the deal. That is, in my opinion, the single most expensive point of entry into model railroading. Locomotives can just seemingly cost a ton of money, but there's some things to consider on this, okay? And this is something that I've learned lately. If you're building a railroad of some size, a 2x4 module, okay? If you're in it to enjoy the time and stuff, you don't have to necessarily buy 500 locomotives to run on your layout. You don't got to do it. One, boom, suffices. Just pick one and go with it. Pick a switcher, make it happen. But you can also run something like DC instead of DCC, right? Just regular power control instead of computer sort of manipulated control. DCC is cool and I love it and I'm running it and I run a bunch of trains at once with it and it's totally cool. But I started out using DC. A DC locomotive I can find on eBay for $50. I've done it. I've taken a $50 locomotive. Did you hear the terrier? I'll tell you that story later. $50 locomotive bought me a DCC decoder, just a 4 channel one, whatever they call it. I don't know. 4 function and soldered in, boom, I'm DCC for $75 on a locomotive. It can happen. You can do it, but that's going to take me to a broader point, and then we're going to go back over and see what's happening in chat. There's an exchange that you can make when modeling that some people might not think about. And it is this. You've heard the old saying, time is money. Right? Time is money. If you are willing to invest the time, you can get an old locomotive that nobody wants and give it a home and refurbish it and get it running on your railroad without spending $350 for it. You can do that. Structures, if you're willing to invest the time, you can scratch build a structure, a basic rectangle especially, pretty simply. I've learned you don't have to be Luke Towan or David Pop or somebody like that to be able to pull that off. You can just scratch build a structure if you want to invest the time. I made some trees for a diorama that I'm very proud of. If I would have bought those trees, they're like, for a pack of 2 would be like $30, $20, depending on what you're looking for. I built these for like $1.50 each, and someday I'm going to show you that. So keep that in mind as we're moving forward. The easy answer isn't always go here, buy cheaper. Sometimes it's buy and invest the time. Buy in time is what we would say. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking. Boom. Let's head back over to chat. It looks like Jack, who likes to say things twice. Jack, hey, is saying we're using old track and recycled ballast. That is a way to save some money on the deal. Matter of fact, I've got some turnouts that I had on the layout, had them ballasted, managed to get them back off the layout. They still operate. They don't look so great right now. There's a couple of them I'm going to use when I do the Brownsville yard on the BSR. So reusing that. I haven't had much luck reusing track, quite frankly, because when I pull it up, it just blows up. But I hadn't thought about reusing ballast before. That's not a bad idea. Thank you for that one, Jack. Also over in chat, it looks like Ron, our buddy Ron of Ron's Trains and Things. How you doing, Ron? Ron saying scratch building kits can be learned. You just have to start simply and learn as you go. And Ron unwittingly is agreeing with me. It's a matter of investing your time. If you're willing to spend the time, you can get things done on your layout cheaper. And let's keep something in mind. For most of us, okay, not for most of us. I don't want to speak for you. For me, it's the time spent. It's the journey, not the destination, that makes it really fun. I enjoy working on my models. So keep that in mind. It's not always slash and grab, although that's a way to save some money, huh? Still over in chat, we're just looking through here. Hey, look, Tony Rifkin. Tony hits on something that is also presently near and dear to my heart. Tony says 3D printing. The upfront cost is steep, but you figure a few $50 lots and details, it starts to pay for itself. You know something, Tony, thanks for bringing that up, because I just got me a 3D printer. Boom! Yeah, baby. 3D printer in the house. We also bought a Cricut maker. Boom, boom, right there. The cost of this 3D printer, now it's an entry level one, okay? I'm going to be real with you. I didn't get the Mamba Jamba one because I've never done this before, but we got it on an Amazon special for $169. $169. Now, you get the resins and all the stuff that you need to do to make stuff happen. But it was relatively inexpensive, and I plan to do some stuff with it. Plus, there's places like Shapeways, where if you have a 3D printer, you can download their files, boom, print your own stuff. Cheaper than buying it somewhere else. So we'll see how that goes. Tony, thanks for bringing that up. Still over in chat. Shannon Tappy, I buy some models and fix them up, change up some details, and make them more desirable and resell to help fund something I really want to buy. Ooh, interesting. Refurbish and resell. That brings up something that's I've been thinking about. You know, I was going through the old hobby room, and if you guys watched a long time ago, I did a sidetracked episode called What's in Steve's Toolbox, and I didn't even know there was so much stuff in there I'd forgotten about. It was amazing. But anyway, going through the hobby room again, I'm starting to find things that I probably won't use again. I have a bag this big of wireframe trees that I bought and used to have in my logging camp. Now, it's not the look I'm going for anymore. I'm not totally hip on it, and I'm really got a hankering to make some more of my own trees. I should put that up on eBay, sell it for, half of what I paid for it or less. Somebody else out there who's on a budget like me, hey, I'll take them, Steve. I think they're awesome. So anyway, recycling your stuff out on eBay or something like that, not a bad idea. Thanks for that one. What else we got going off in chat? Fark64 saying copper handmade trees, scratch building a spray foam land. Cheap, 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 cheap. Like the chickens, like the little chickens. Cheap, cheap. Whatever. These are the jokes, people. Get over yourself. Copper handmade tree scratch building. Hey, speaking of trees, handmade trees. If you take, by the way, there are some great videos out there on how to make your own trees. We did a Track Smack episode on it, but 4 people immediately come to mind. There's a guy called Luke Apps, makes some trees for wargaming, does some amazing work. That's where I learned about seafoam. I got a whole box of seafoam. I'll show it to you. Actually, we're going to use some of that seafoam to make some little like low-rise trees that we're going to put over in Fertile Valley. That's going to be fun. Of course, Luke Tolan's got his version of making trees. Kathy Millett's got some great videos on that. And then Ron's Trains and Things made some awesome pine trees over on his channel. So check those videos out. But the fundamental thing is 2 fundamental things. One is it's cheaper, people, a lot cheaper than buying factory-made trees. A lot. I saw a box of what I'll call hero trees. It was 2 didaceous trees in a box from Woodland Scenics, I think it was. It was $52. What? $52 for 2 trees. Now, if you've got a small layout that needs 2 trees, well, there you go. You got a little bit bigger layout where you need 100 trees. I don't think so, people. Now, the reason I call them hero trees, they sit in the front and it's like, ooh, trees are pretty. And then behind it, you have a bunch of crap trees, okay, or whatever. In my case, though, baby, going to make all my own trees from now on. It is not hard to do. And again, if you're willing to invest the time, you can save the money. And in my opinion, have more fun. So anyway, that's me monologuing for a while. Pennywise over in chat, we're still in chat, people, says polyfiber makes awesome trees as well. Yes, you are right, Pennywise. That is one of the cool ways to do it. You take it, you spread it apart, stick it through a skewer, paint it up, spray it with some stuff, static grass that thing, or whatever. Got some great trees. I love it. I love playing with it. It's fun. Still over in chat, looking through chat, Tony Rifkin. Hey, Tony, you're pretty popular on today's chat, aren't you? Ballast is made from nutshells. You can buy a 50-pound bag of crushed walnut shells for sand blasting. It's only about $20. And you can dye your own ballast, sand, and dirt. You just have to screen it. Well, Tony, I didn't know that. Young man, buddy of mine. That's the thing. Who knew? Who knew you could do that? Maybe everybody did but me. But anyway. So, crushed walnut shells. Now, if you're running down in the in-scale mode, baby, you got to really sift that, I would imagine. And then take the big stuff, crush it up some more, sift it again, I guess. Painting it might be interesting. Don't know how to do that, but I'm sure somebody will tell us how to do that. Ron, our RT&T furnace filters for pine trees. Same kind of thing, RT&T, as Ron Straits and things, as what Pennywise was saying about polyfiber. It's a fibrous thing, and you can spread it out and thin it out. And then on a tree, you put it in layers like this, so there's air between the levels of branches. It looks pretty real, in my humble opinion. All right, so over in chat, that's happening. Hey, I just want to stop for a minute because I see one of my old buddies there. It's Ron from Panama. You guys don't hear that often, do you? Yeah, you do. Hey, Ron, in Scale Union Pacific Evanston Subdivision. Ron, Roy, good Lord. Crap, I'm out of coffee. Roy, I was thinking about you this morning because the way you did the White Mountain on your layout, I was thinking about you as I was working on those same techniques on my railroad, by the way. So I want you to know that even when we're not together, you are in my hobby room. And of course, the rest of you too. So there you go. Awesome stuff. My moderators are correcting me. It's Roy. I know I said coffee go bye-bye, daddy need more. Whatever. Sorry, show's degrading. Back on topic. So I told you, we just talked about the locomotives and rolling stock version of this, right? Buy them cheap and fix them up, sell them to make some more money, or use them so you didn't spend so much money. That's what I'm talking about. But then what about scratch building structures? What about it? Now, I think some people would consider that a daunting task to scratch build a structure. Well, here's the deal. What is your benchmark on what is going to look good and what's going to look like crap? What's your benchmark? If you're trying to scratch build a structure to look like one of the beast mode modelers that we see out there, plasmoplastic models, Luke Towan, of course. Heck, I was watching Ron build his Victory Fuels over at Ron Strains and Things. A kind of a high bar when you're looking at David Popp, scratch built a train. Well, he kit bashed a train station actually, but I've seen he scratch built a sawmill from wood, and it looks amazing. So if that's your benchmark, and it's like I'm going to scratch build me a structure, and it doesn't come out looking like that, don't quit. I've got some scratch build structures that I originally had on the layout. Wasn't 100% happy with them. I was happy with them. I mean, it's a structure, boom. But I wasn't 100% happy with them. And then as time moves on, maybe that structure comes off. Maybe you kit bash your scratch build structure, add more details or something. Again, it's how much time do you want to put in and what are you trying to get out of it? Do you want to spend time modeling? That's how you do it. That's how I do it. So, something as simple as you buy some pieces of styrene sheet and strip and some glue, and you take a straight edge and an X-Acto knife. So far, everything I've talked about is cheap. Put your straight edge, score the plastic, snap it. Now you got a wall. You make two of those, you got two long walls, right? You can have a peaked end or a flat end, whatever, make two end walls. Cut out some doors. Boom, you've got yourself a scratch build structure. A little tough to scratch build, in my opinion. Doors, windows, things like that. Those kind of details. You might have to buy a 3D printer and make them yourself. Boom, that's what's going to happen over here, people. Oh, get her done. So consider scratch building, but that's plastic. You know, the easy thing to scratch build with, I'm telling you, the easy thing to scratch build with, if you're trying to save some money, you can get it at Michael's or Hobby Lobby or off the internet. Strips of wood, sheets of wood, and just start cutting it and gluing it together. You can scratch build a bridge. I did. The very first project I did for the BSR that was not mountains was I built what I call the Bistanchery Bridge. You'll see it as the bridge going over the gorge on my layout, the front bridge. I built that from scratch, people, with no previous experience, and I have to tell you, the train still runs like clockwork on it. I still love looking at it. I'm very proud of it. Scratch built it. That bridge probably cost me $5 and all the time I put into it. That same bridge, you go buy it from Walters or somebody, you're going to pay $30 for it, 25, I don't know. You're going to spend some money on it, and it adds up over time. I was willing to invest the time and save myself the money. So I do a lot of that sort of thing now because I'm on a fixed budget, people. So anyway, let's get back over to chat. I have a little thing. I just go, boom, over to the chat window. See what's happening over there. Hey, Steve's, it's not Steve's, people. It's Steve, 87th PSMP. He's a great fan of ours, by the way, and I'm a fan of his. He says, forget plastic. Hear my dogs barking? This is the real guy, regular guy version of the show. He says, forget plastic. Paper is coming back. Easy to do. Need a printer and a computer and cardstock, which is 100-pound paper. They're done quick and real cheap. You know something, Steve? I am not going to disagree with you. The reason I made that concrete tunnel portal, well, there's two reasons. One, I needed a tunnel portal. The second reason is I made it the way I did because it's going to sit in the back of the layout, surrounded by all kinds of other cool stuff. So it's not going to be a focal piece up front. So I wanted to take real pictures, assemble them, print them, and glue them to something technique, and then weather that. And I'm real proud of it. It came out really awesome. And what did that cost me? A sheet of the foam core was like $1.25. I don't know. And some spray adhesive, $2.50. For like $5, I made that tunnel portal, but I just spent a great deal of time to do it. And I showed that to you guys. So I think the paper coming back is not off the mark. As a matter of fact, I have an area, oh heck, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet long, maybe 8 feet long, on the back of the Brownsmith Railroad. Need some flats back there. I need sort of the back of an industrial scape that my train is going to border when it's coming through. Well, I don't want to go out and buy me a bunch of kits, cut them in half, or just use the fronts. I don't think so, people. We're going to make it out of printout buildings, put it on some cardstock. Again, it'll be in the back. And I can glue details to that to give it some dimension, but there's no need to buy up these plastic models and make all this. So Steve's 87th PSMP, thanks for bringing that up, because I think I'm agreeing with you. That is going to be part of the future of what we can do, if it isn't already a part of our present, to save some money on model railroads. That's an idea. I like it. Let's see. N-Scale Union Pacific Evanston Subdivision. Roy Smith from Panama. The wife and I are talking about retiring in Panama, by the way, because that's where all the cool kids play. Boom. Roy is saying this: I like to use the pieces of a kit to make 2 or 3 shallow 3D structures. And there's something else for you. How about getting a kit if that's what you want to do. You don't want a scratch build. You want a kit. How about getting it and using one structure for two things, sometimes even three things? Over on Model Railroader Video Plus, we had this challenge of taking this store and kit bashing it into something else. And there were some people in the contest, well, the challenge, that took that and cut it in half, assembled it lengthwise, and made a flat that's twice the structure. But even in that structure, there's leftover pieces, windows, doors, walls. You put them in a box somewhere later on, grab from the pieces you have. So even, I think Roy is right, or I know he's right. I think he's right. He has my seal of approval. I know he's right. If you're going to do the kit thing, save the pieces from the kit. Take one kit and make multiple things out of it. Actually, I bought a 100-foot, 180-foot, I think it was. It was big, people. Like engine house, 2-track engine house, but I couldn't use the whole thing. So I cut it sort of diagonally and had it juxtaposed like this up on the layout. And basically, I had a faux track here. I couldn't send a locomotive in, but over here I could send a locomotive in. But what was left from that was I made me a little building. It's like the power plant for the yard, and I made a couple other things from all the leftover pieces. It was amazing. It was easy to do, but I had to spend time on it to make it happen and to save the money. So anyway, that's that. I think it's time for a surprise attack. Y'all thought I was just going to monologue for the rest of the show. I guess I still am monologuing right now. Hey, anyway, thanks everybody for coming back and watching the show today. We got some very constructive input from our subscribers about last week's show, and not offering an apology here. We're trying some new stuff here at TrackSmack. More of a collaborative effort, more of a supported effort, really honestly trying to bring you the best quality show that we can. Stuff you can use, stuff you can apply right now, and have a little fun along the way. So last week may not have been our greatest effort. I was the problem. But, it's cool. And that's kind of part of the whole thing. I mean, think about this. I show you stuff on my railroad all the time. I show you how I screw up. I do it. I shoot it when I'm tired. So I'm like this. So I don't even know, bro. I do that. And I do it after I'm all pumped up on caffeine. I'm like, boom, yeah, get her done. Woo, woo, railroad time. You see all of it because it's real. It's what regular people do. And what you saw last Saturday was just a regular guy kind of show. We're not perfect people. Although the guys that take care of this show do a really good job. And now we have this great discussion during the middle of the week. Anyway, thank you for that. That's announcement number one. Announcement number two. What'd you guys think of that video last week? Pink foam, white foam, making mountains. And I'm not kidding you. That was a challenge for me. I was like, I had to do it, and I had to do it on video. Wasn't too confident. But speaking of modeling on a budget, now that pink foam board that I bought and shared half of it with Roy Smith in Panama, it's pretty pricey. I bought it to experiment with it, and I've done some good things with it. I like it for certain applications. But that white styrofoam, here's another one for you. If you're willing to invest the time, you can save the money. And if you're willing to clean up a mess, you can save some money. Man, that styrofoam, the white stuff you saw me use on the mountains, I didn't buy that. That was packing material from a couple appliances we bought. It was free, people. Free. I didn't pay a dime for it. Well, I bought the appliance, I guess. But I was going to do that anyway. So here's the thing. You find that kind of stuff and you can hack it up and stuff it in and boom, Bob's your uncle. That's how I rail anyway. So anyway, thanks for all your positive comments. That lately, it's my railroad channel's been blowing up. I don't know what the difference is, but I'll take it. And that keeps me pumped up to keep making the show because you people pump me up. This coming week, what you're going to see over there is the sculpt molding process, trying to figure out some things down in the main plane, the upper plane, I like to call it. And we're just going to keep that train running all the way to the track. So that's what's coming up. So thank all of you folks for that. One last thing. Moderators and I are talking about the next subscriber interview series. We're still putting that together. So keep looking for that. We had great success with Steve Arnold, Brian Jones, Shannon Tapia, Marcel, Cloverdale Rail was over there. And it was cool to interview just regular people in their hobby rooms, or model railroads, whatever. So that's what we're going to be doing coming up in the next couple of months or something like that. So keep your eyes open for that. And we're like at 9,200 subscribers now. I'm just saying, it's a little thing over there. Back over to chat. Boom. Thanks for letting me do my announcements, people. So, it's funny, the moderators are telling me to stay on topic. I'm allowed during the announcements to go off topic, but they're right. Reel it in, Steve. Come on, reel it in. Let's see. Shannon is saying, well, not Shannon. I'm sorry. God, I still no coffee. Lord, please deliver some coffee. Hey, Roy Smith over in Panama is saying again, use white styrofoam for scenery making. It's really cheap, even free sometimes. When you are being backed up by a gentleman like Roy Smith down in Panama, you're right, people. You better recognize. Sometimes I go gangster. Anyway, let's see. What else we got going off over there in chat? Derek Harbin saying, good morning. Second time listening. You're awesome. Derek, you're awesome. We're all awesome. You know what? You know why we're awesome? Because we are an awesome community with one thing in common. We model like modelers, regular guys making it happen. I love it. What else we got? Hey, Tony Rifkin owns the show today. He's saying use sandpaper for roofing material. Sandpaper's cheap. I might actually try that at some point. So anyway, what do we got going over in, what else we got going over in chat? What do we got going over in chat? Mommy, help me. Let's see. Hey, Jeffrey Miller saying dollar store foam core. Black stuff, the paper peels off. Dollar core form. Oh, something that you're amazing. That is awesome. Cindy Brown, the first lady of model railroading, and I were walking through the dollar store. And I was thinking in terms of ideas of stuff. I bought some glue and alcohol applicators there. It was $1 for 2. Amazing stuff. They have, what if you want to use like different kinds of cutting tools to cut your scenery? They've got this whole section of like, here's a $59 knife. Buy it. Cut some junk. If it goes dull, who cares? Did I say $59 knife? 59-cent knife. It won't be incredibly sharp, but when you're done with it, it's all boogered up from being a modeling knife. You throw it away, buy another one. Be careful though, because it's sharp, people. So anyway, I think that's great. Hey, Fark64 is saying use wood chips for rocks. If I can expand on that, Fark64, don't get mad at me. Don't time me out. If I can expand on that, bark. Just kidding. Bark, I've seen people have great success on using tree bark for rocks. As a matter of fact, today I need to figure it out. I'm going to try to put some kind of rock strata in the side of my mountain. I may try the wood chips or bark thing. I'm going to have to explore that a little bit. But thanks for bringing that up. That's totally awesome. Hey, Flyboy2610 says, when you switch out the plastic wheels on your rolling stock for metal ones, use the plastic wheels to make a wheel set load for your gondolas or flat cars. An excellent idea that we're talking about. Now, switching out to wooden wheel sets, metal wheel sets isn't exactly for everyone. Depending on how many cars you have, it can be pricey. I'm going to do it with some resistor ones for block detection, but whatever. But then what? You throw all the plastic ones away? See ya. Thanks for coming over. Or as he is saying, as Flyboy 2610 is saying, you can make a gondola load, or if you're building like a yard scene that's got a turntable or something and a few locomotives are going to be stored there, you can have a maintenance track with a bunch of those axles lying on it. I've seen that in the real world, and I've seen it in a lot of models. So you can reuse that stuff too. Even something like that. It's thinking maybe a little outside the mainstream. And what can I use this for now? Repurposing, I think we would say. That's pretty awesome. Well, we just talked about scenery. Should we talk about scenery some more? What do you guys? Oh, back over in chat. Let's see. Ron Piskel with a wrench is saying you can get a pack of 50 pieces of sandpaper at dollar store for $1. Boom. That's one of the things I saw. Thank you, Ron. Yes. Cindy Brown, the first lady of model railroading, and I saw a whole thing of paintbrushes, like the foam ones, for like $1. It was $1. I mean, there was nothing to it. It was $1. We saw sandpaper, sanding blocks for $1. Now, okay, maybe you could buy all those brushes at Michael's for $7.99, and you go to the dollar store and buy it for $1. You saved a whole $6. Whatever. Well, take $6 times the lifetime of your hobby. Oh my God, though. You're saving a ton of money. So it's not all eBay, Amazon, and whatever. There's places like the dollar store. I think it's pretty, or Dollar Tree, or whatever you got going on out there. Plus, I saw somebody over in chat earlier talking about just using nature. What do you got lying around? The diorama I made with the two walkers, the rocks, the actual rocks, are rocks I pulled out of my front yard. I saw some I kind of like the shape of, the size of. I cleaned them up. Didn't even paint them. Just glued them down to the railroad. There's all kinds of cool stuff like that. The other day I was on the job site and I looked down, and growing up through the crack of this old piece of concrete was like an HO scale tree. It may have been an O scale tree, but it was this tree growing up. And I stood there staring at it, and the people that are working with me are like, "What are you staring at, dude?" I'm like, "That's a tree. It looks like a little tree. I could use that on my railroad." Unfortunately, before I got back to it, somebody killed it. Somebody cut it. Oh, tree abusers. I hate that when it happens. Will Kling has got something over in chat. He's saying, lay your track sub roadbed and track with painter's caulk. $1.59 a tube, and if you have to pick it up, back up, it's easy. You know something, Will Kling, my brother, you are right. That painter's caulk is cheap. And I've switched to construction adhesive right now. I don't know why I did. It's really sticky, and the stuff sticks really quick. But using caulking to stick it down. Now, let's roll back a little bit, sort of a little side tip. What you're trying to do is get your roadbed glued down. It doesn't move. With the track, you just want to keep it in place until you put the white glue and ballast on, or whatever you're going to do. Unless you're using like Unitrack or whatever it is, Snaptrack. Different story there. But by doing that, the glue and everything actually glues the track down. But, you know, I like the caulking method. It's cheap tube. I squirt it out. I just use my finger, baby. I don't use any tools. Wipe it down, stick it down. Works really well. And then I cough because I needed a break. So Will Kling, thank you, brother. JC's Rip Track is saying, I made flax and canola flowers out of sawdust. That is an interesting idea. Where were you when I was falling in love? I just was drilling some bunch of holes in some wood for the first lady of model railroading for a project I was doing. And I sort of noticed though the sawdust was like powdery and everything. And for a minute, I was trying to think of how to use that on my railroad, but it was everywhere and I had to clean it up, and then I threw it away without thinking about it. But that is an awesome idea. Cheap foam shavings with plaster and water, separate it to bunches, and when it dries, you have rocks for scenery. That's from J Van Amb. Cheap phone shavings mixed with plaster and water. Hey, here's another cheap one for you. Ah, yes, I think I shall bring this one out now. Here's another one you can do, and Javan Amb reminds me of that. I'm presently experimenting with taking a piece of aluminum foil, folding it like 3 times, so it's stiff, making it into a little trough, crinkling it up, making shapes in it, taking some hydrocal, mixing it and pouring it in, letting it dry. Boom, you've got rocks. I've done it down there. I just don't like the way they turned out because I'm still working on the technique. We are going to make a video coming up in the future where I'll show you that. But that is a cheap way to get some awesome rocks if you want to invest the time. But I have an even cheaper way. If you take drywall mud, which is cheap, by the way, and thin it down so it's kind of watery or whatever, put that in the bottom of that, in that aluminum foil form, and boom, you've got some rocks coming out of it. So think outside the box a little bit and be willing to invest your time to save the money. Time is money. If you're in a hurry, just go buy that stuff, baby. Boom, put it on the layout. If you're in it for the long haul, just buy some stuff and make it into what you want. Anyway, that's what I would do. Still over in chat. What else we got going on over here? Let's see. Rob Tiemann is saying G-scale is a good way to have cheap scenery. Use what Mother Nature has made. Well, there you go. If you got the room for the G-scale, run what Mother Nature's made. Oh, here's one for you. You know those garden railroads? I think that is G-scale, by the way. I don't know. I'm an N-scaler. You don't even have to decorate those because you got your lawn. Boom. That's a cheap way to do it. Excellent idea. Steve's 87th PSMP. You can sawdust for sawdust too. Also make sawdust with glue for filler or in place of plaster. You know something? You can use sawdust for sawdust. I know that sounds like duh, but think about it. What are you going to use for sawdust if you've got something where wood's being worked on your railroad? What are you going to use? How about sawdust? It works, especially if you take it in some kind of way to sift it so the smaller pieces come through, rub it around and sift it. You can make some sawdust. I bought back in the day, a JV models kit, something, I don't know, sawmill, and it came with a little bag of sawdust to put on the floor. So that works. Why go buy it? Sawdust is cheap and easy. Oh, cheap and easy. I'm going to come off a chat for just a second because something cool. You know, the pink foam, extruded foam board is expensive, right? And so I don't use it, and it's hard to find. I was told that the insulation they're going to be putting up, there's the dogs, they're barking. The insulation we're going to be putting up, hello, are we done? Done barking? Hey, Bentley Brown. Sorry, kids are acting up. The insulation we're using for the two hotels I'm building right now is extruded foam board of some kind. I can't wait to see it because there will be pieces thrown in my dumpster. I will dumpster dive and get that action. Also, up at the top, the decorative shapes, the cornices and stuff are being made from white styrofoam. I'm going to have all the styrofoam I need for free. So here's a tip. Get into construction, become a superintendent, and start building hotels. Boom. You've got all the free foam. Whatever. These are the jokes, people, and I can't dance. Sparky 107107 with a wrench. One of our moderators is throwing in paint straws from fast food places for pipes and pipe loads. Actually, if you get over to Sparky's channel, Sparky 107107, without the wrench, he's got a video over there on how he made a pipe load for his cars off of those straws. It's pretty awesome. And again, they're straws. You buy them, you cut them, you glue them, maybe paint them. Cheap. You got to invest the time to save the money, though. And let's see. Jack. This guy made a whole grain elevator out of foil. Boom. I don't know how you do that. But Train Guy 56 adding to that thing, I think, is saying, I cut strips of aluminum cans and press it into the treads of a bolt to make HO cupboards. Might be more difficult in. Some more tips for you. That reminds me of something. Thank you, Train Guy 56. You want to make a silo? Old piece of PVC pipe. Boom, silo made. Do you want a bigger silo? Old soda can. Boom, silo made. Whatever you want to do. There's so many things you can use and paint. So if you break away, in my opinion, if we break away from this whole, you got to buy a kit and assembly, or you got to buy Sculptamold is another one. I'm using Sculptamold today down at the BSR because it's what I like and it's what I'm familiar with. And I don't have the time to save the money. So I bought a bag of Sculptamold from Midwest Model Railroad. But drywall mud, mud mixed with sawdust, it gives you some texture. Whatever. It's like think outside the box a little bit and away you go. I know Roy Smith down in Panama, he don't use Sculptamold hardly ever. He uses spackling paste. That's his thing. And if you look at his stuff, it works. It looks good. So that's where I come down on that deal. Still over in chat. What else we got going on over here, people? Ron Pisco with a wrench is saying in scale paper towel rolls for silos or toilet paper rolls. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to get creepy or anything, but everybody's got them except in India. But let's not go there. Joel Karma shredded paper mache. Boom. Mix that in with drywall mud. Make yourself some texture, and that is how that goes. So I think so far you guys are bringing up some great ideas. Let me monologue for just a minute. One of the things you're going to see over on that BSR, or you've already seen, let's be honest, baby, is using real dirt. Actually, Ron over in chat, Ron Strains and Things is saying the same thing. I sift real dirt out of the yard for base ground cover. I found this awesome powder dirt on a job site. Now, on a job site, it's not too awesome because just walking on it makes a cloud. Cars driving on it make a cloud. And in California, you don't get to make any clouds, baby. They come shut your stuff down and find you. So you have to put water on it, and it gets muddy, but I'm off topic. Back on topic. I scooped up a whole bunch of that dirt, like half of a 5-gallon bucket, and took it home with me. I did that like a year ago. I still use that dirt, and it's cool because without getting creepy, some of your significants may have leftover stockings, nylons, or go buy a pair. It's cheap. And they can be comfortable in the wintertime. Get yourself a stocking, fill it full of dirt, and do this thing like that to sift it. And this incredibly flour-like dust is generated pretty quickly. And it's free. You just buy it. A couple of videos ago on It's My Railroad, you saw me take that dirt, mix it in with some ballast, so that I had some ballast. I was kind of degraded and dirty, and frankly, it came out okay. I liked it. So using real dirt is excellent for ground cover, in my humble opinion. So anyway, getting a little long in the broadcast. Still no coffee, people. So here's the deal. Here's one last thing before we go back over to chat and say goodbye. And it's something that I want to express. And if you're still with us this late in the broadcast, that means you actually give a crap about what we're doing over here. So thank you for that. I would like to encourage people to understand that you don't have to spend a bunch of money to do some awesome modeling. There was a few comments in some recent It's My Railroad videos. People talking about, I'd love to work in model railroading, but I can't afford it. I don't have the money to get into it. And I'm hoping through this broadcast, you can understand that may not be entirely true. You can buy a locomotive cheap. It doesn't have to be DCC. I bought my first railroad. It was a Bachmann, and it had a big boy steam locomotive, a few cars, and some track. It was like $100. It was DC with a rheostat to control power. Boom, I had a model railroad. It wasn't expensive. And since then, I quit buying so many things and started making more things. And I am having a ton of fun in this hobby. So I want to encourage you. We, as a community, want to encourage new people to take that chance. That's what this community is about. Regular people just taking a chance on what do you guys think of this? Look what I made. What do you think of this? Because there's some other places you'll go and they'll go, that looks like crap. What are you doing here? Get that off the air. But there's places like here. It's My Railroad TrackSmack community where people go, that is an awesome effort. Outstanding. How did you think of that? Where did you buy that? Next time, what do you think about doing this? And it's not people beating up on each other. That's why we're so strict about what you can and can't say on our shows. Positive all the way through, because we have this one thing in common. We're modelers. And most of us don't have a whole bunch of money to do it. So I hope this show has given you some ideas to stretch your modeling dollar as we promised you. But let's go back over to chat and say goodbye. Chat, I'm afraid it's getting a little old. Thanks for letting me do a little sermonizing there on the broadcast. We're looking through chat. Just say goodbye to everybody. Pennywise, Steve is correct. You just need to be creative. It's all good. Thank you, Pennywise. Jack saying his was a Tyco train set. They're cheap. Get into the DC version. You can always upgrade later. But the hobby is not about having the cool equipment as much for me as it is about building the cool layout that I built with my own hands. I came up with that idea, baby. Or I plagiarized off somebody else. Boom. JC's Rick Track is saying kit patching is so much fun. It is fun. And so if you got some kits, you don't use all the parts, save those parts, and then think, what can I make out of this? What do I need? What can I use this for? It's huge. It's a lot of fun. I totally dig it. Well, anyway, there you go. Vic Estes is saying, great show, Steve. Peace out. And I think he's right. Thanks, everybody, for joining me today here on TrackSmack. Thanks to our moderators for doing an awesome job. And thanks to all of you for hanging out with us. I hope you picked up some tips. I hope you had a good time. And I hope we will see you here next week. But until next week, my name is Steve Brown. And rail on, my friends.